give you praise and glory and honor. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Flagg. The Raptor virtual volunteer management software has been moved to the, it's been moved down, and I think number 2 on presentations has been moved to the July meeting. So we will start with Chris Glimp reporting on Alcohol Literacy Challenge. Hey, Chris, you'll go to the microphone. Thank you. Anyway, if you're interested in making a public comment, see Sharon over here or Pam who's coming in the door, and fill out a public comment card. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, it should come as no surprise to anyone that underage drinking and binge drinking among youth are two significant problems for the state of Florida. Unfortunately, Putnam County is no exception. Our rates, according to the 2014 Florida Youth Substance Abuse Survey, are at or above the state average. It means we're not the worst, thank goodness, but we're in the bottom half. In order to help address this issue, the agency I work for, the Hanley Center Foundation, in partnership with the school board and the school district, has spent this year presenting a program called the Alcohol Literacy Challenge. This program has been presented to middle and high school students throughout Putnam County, and this program has been very, very well received, both nationally, it's an evidence-based NREP program, as well as locally, excuse me, where we've had tremendous success with the schools. I've had the pleasure this year of getting to work with our school district and presenting this program. I just wanted to give you some of the information and some of the results from it. We started off with the issues of the alcohol, and whereas Putnam County is just at the state average, especially in the high school, in terms of our underage drinking, when it comes to our binge drinking, that's where we really stand out. According to our high school students who drink, 32.9% of them drink 5 or more drinks at a sitting, which is obviously at a very high risk for traffic accidents, sexual behaviors, and other accidents. The state average is only 24.2%. So we are more than 15% above there. So this program is specifically designed to combat binge drinking and to reduce underage drinking overall. It's a brief intervention, takes 90 minutes at the middle and high school level, and is the only brief intervention program that has been demonstrated to actually reduce drinks per session and overall drinking rates for middle and high school students. The Alcohol Literacy Challenge is based on challenging a student's understanding of what alcohol is and does. The belief system that a student has walking in the door when they take their first drink has a massive impact on their outcome. By challenging their alcohol expectancies, we get to teach them that 90% of the positive effects that people anticipate receiving from drinking alcohol are mental effects and have nothing to do with the drink itself. This is demonstrated through videos that show bar lab experiments where students who are at a bar under a sociology experiment are drinking and partying and having fun, and at the end they discover that only 3 of the 12 students had any alcohol in their drinks. All of them were drunk, all of them were acting wild and crazy, but it was that mental expectancy that caused them to get that elation and that endorphin rush and to have that fun. So as we work through, we demonstrate, especially at the middle school level, how they get these expectancies. We're not born with them. They don't come to us just straight out of the womb. These are programmed into us, mostly by advertising. By the time a student is 18 years old, they will have been exposed to over 500,000 alcohol advertisements. And that includes written, it includes the signs and the posters that are stuck up on all the convenience store windows. It includes television, internet, radio, sporting events are rife with them. And so this programs a student to have a belief, and that belief impacts how they experience alcohol.
By the time they're 18.
By the time they're 18, over 500,000 exposures.
I would think it would be younger. I guess they just wouldn't be able to record it as young.
So, as we go through this program, the students learn how alcohol actually truly affects their brains and bodies, demonstrates how that mental effect can take place. And in doing so, we teach them that they can drink less, or preferably not at all, and have as much or more fun than they were having when they were drinking. This year, we were able to present the Alcohol Literacy Challenge to 1,438 of our Midland High School students. These spanned 10 schools. We do a pre and post test, as this is an evidence-based program, and the knowledge gain of the students on average was 70.76%. Just so you know, for a program of this level, we aim at a 20% knowledge gain. 30 to 40% is considered very high. Overall, our students scored at a 70.76% increase in knowledge, which is very, very good. This is fantastic and says very good things for our students, for how well they paid attention, and for their participation in the program. I have to say, for a personal note, for going out and presenting this for these students, I once again had the pleasure of working with the schools and our students. They were well behaved. They definitely showed the best that Putnam County has to offer with it. And I got to go to nearly every middle and high school in the county, including E.H. Miller. And actually, that was one of my first schools, and those students were incredibly well behaved. I had no problems with the schools. I had no problems with the teachers. And in fact, this program was well enough received that at some schools where I had morning and afternoons with the same teacher, when I came back for the afternoon session, the teacher had invited other teachers to send their students over because they enjoyed the program so much in the beginning. This program is provided by a grant, the Primary Prevention Grant, which is in partnership with the school district and provided through DCF. We have this grant for the next 2 years as well, and we intend to continue this presentation. So I just wanted to thank you and bring you this information and let you know how wonderful it was to be able to work with you again this year. Yes.
Did you talk to each student in each of the middle and high schools that you went to, or how did they pick the students you were? Grade level?
We typically got them either by grade level or by class, depending on what was available. I don't have the full list in front of me because of how many we saw. I know that most recently I was down at Miller Intermediate School, and they were able to get us all of the 6th graders and all of the 7th graders through their English class.
Good.
And I saw the majority of the 6th, 8th, 9th, and 11th graders through the county.
It is
Right.
amazing how honest they'll be if they have an anonymous sheet of paper to fill out too, you know.
Even better for us is we actually have an electronic recording device, a little remote control clickers that they get to use. The students love being able to use that for taking their pre and post tests. I think we get better participation with it. And the scores show up at the end. It's still anonymous, but at the end, every time they take the question, it shows the score. And so for the pre-test, they don't know what the answers are supposed to be. But by the post-test, we get to encourage them, and they're aiming for that A. They're looking to get that 90% or better accuracy for all the questions.
Well, Chris, thanks for what you do. Does anyone have any more questions? We just want you to keep partnering with us and help us to help the kids all we can.
It's wonderful what you're doing.
Thank you
Very,
very
very
much.
needed in our community and every community.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Let's see.
Got
Next,
my pen.
I did take your pen, Jane, here.
So,
Because you weren't using it, you were on your cell phone there. I'm messing with you. Primerica Representatives Greg Corcus and Michael Cordero and Lisa Preston to present information on 403B and 529 for school board employees. And I'm messing with you, you weren't on your cell phone.
Morning, thank you. Oh, no, I saw the name.
All right, awesome. So good morning, Board. We're here this morning to talk with you about the opportunity as far as not so much the 403B, but as far as the opportunity to offer a 529. It's called an employer-sponsored 529, and it's something that's pretty much come out of probably in the last 3 or 4 years as far as being something that's been offered for employers to do. I'm sure, as you know, you've got a enough challenges with getting kids prepared for college academically. One of the major factors that they have as far as a family is getting them prepared financially. And so what this does is it's a volunteer basis for your employees. And if you look here, where are you? So if you take a look at, just forget that. That's not gonna, no, that's not the presentation. If you open it up and you take a look at at the brochures here, if you take a look, what happens typically is kids get ready for college, and what I find as being a financial advisor is that most families sit down and they either mortgage, when you take a look at mortgages, people mortgage them right now, getting their kids ready for college because they didn't save enough. Or the kids hope that their kid's going to be a football star. Or they are, or typically they'll pull money from their retirement plan. And that's a lot of work, especially when most families are within that 15 years of getting ready for college. And so, if you take a look here, if you take a look at your left here, it has just showing the difference of where you end up spending. It costs you more money to borrow it as compared to just saving the money. And so what we offer is the opportunity to be able to, basically what we're asking for is to have a slot on your payroll for the staff that they could voluntarily put in as little as $25 a month. And then we have a bunch of different options there as far as we have target programs where, let's say you have a child that's, I'll use my example. I have a 10-year-old son, and we have him in a target plan to where we put in X amount of dollars a month, and that's going to change the investing for the child changes as he gets older. So it's a little bit more aggressive now when he's younger. When he gets closer to like 14, 15, they actually automatically change it to where it's more conservative and where the child has money and it's there. The great thing about a 529 plan is the fact that you can get family members, so you can open it up for anybody, really. So you can open it up for your children, you can open it up for your nieces, your nephews. You can get family members, like something that I do in our family is I get my family to put half of whatever they give them for their Christmas or holidays or whatever, put that into their 529. And you have a family that can help go towards it. And one thing and there's no, I've yet to see a business or a nonprofit organization in the area that offers this to their staff. And basically what it would be is just a payroll deduction. You could start with one person or you can add as many as you want. And they get the opportunity to, it's basically a link that the employees would get that they can choose for themselves how they want it directed. And it gives them the opportunity to save for college.
Are there tax ramifications? Is this non-taxable income when it's deposited? and
Correct, it's
taxable when
after-tax money. And the way,
After tax money?
correct, it's after-tax money, and it's payroll deducted. And the way it works is that as that money grows, so let's say over the course of 10 years, let's say you put in $1,000 a year, and you have $10,000 that you put in yourself, and the money grows tax-free, and you can use it tax-free as long as it's for higher education purposes.
How about technical college?
That would just be a matter of whatever, if it falls under the guidelines of higher education. There are some technical colleges that are on it. There's a College Board website you can go for. But I know this past year they just went to electronic peripherals. You can use it for, obviously, tuition.
It would probably apply. I have a question. Are you with Primerica or,
Primerica Financial Services.
do you know Mike Tuttle?
We sure do.
Any vote that we take on this, out of abundance of caution, I'm gonna have to abstain from because he is my cousin. And I thought he lives in Texas.
He
So-
does.
So I'm gonna stay away from doing any voting on this.
Well, this
No,
isn't a voting item.
American
Okay.
Funds is the
I was-
company.
Right,
that
the
you-
company that we use,
I'm just gonna let
and
you
so
know.
they have an opportunity where you can use, they can choose the funds that they wish,
Yeah,
or they can also use what's called a target or a fund of funds, where they broaden out the group and it's more conservative.
so
It's
you're
more
asking
diverse.
for us to set up a payroll deduction through
Slot
our
on-
finance, which I know that we usually have to get 25 people to agree to that for this to happen,
Okay.
so. Okay, I'm not sure.
I don't think it would be hard to do that if the board so chose to do it, but, I mean,
Well, I don't even know, is it a board decision or just 25 people?
That's a contract, I would think.
A contract, and then you have to get 25 to
Since it's a new slot.
execute it? Yeah,
So,
so, okay.
Can I just confirm to clarify, so if I have employees asking me, I
Absolutely.
can explain it? Okay, they can put in as much as they want
correct.
towards college education. What if their air conditioning, 4-ton air conditioning unit goes and they really don't have the money for it right then, and they take that money out?
They get taxed and they pay a penalty. So it's almost like,
A penalty.
right, they pay, well, I take it back. Whatever monies, whatever is over the amount that they put in themselves, they would pay a penalty on.
Only on the interest it's accrued. or
Correct.
the
So let's go back to that
dividends.
same 10 years. I put in 10,000, but the account is 12,000.
Exactly.
If I took any monies out, the first 2,000,
Would be okay.
no, the first 2,000 would be okay because I put in 10,
Right.
as long as I don't take out more than the 10.
I understand.
Yeah. And then also too is, let's say, like I have one daughter that did not go to college. So with her 529 account, I'm using that also for my son. So if the children do not go to college, they can take it and choose somebody else. Every year you can change the beneficiary. And what it's great for also too, I see is the opportunities where you have a lot of folks that are in education, they've been here for 20, 30 years, their kids are in school, they see their grandkids, they want to do something so they're better off. And it gives them, I mean, I'm sure you know yourselves, most people will save it out of their paycheck as compared to taking it out of their pocket. So,
So you can't, like, I have a friend that does it, it's, whether it's car insurance, apartment, whatever you need college, if their child is enrolled in college, you get the check for whatever you
right,
need.
it's meant for tuition, and there's a list of different things that they'll get of what it's covered, because every year they change it.
Oh, okay.
It's for
'Cause
higher
I thought
education.
housing and,
If housing is part of
If
it,
it's like a dorm. or-
correct, if it's a dorm. But if you want to stay like my niece, with her account, she decided to stay off in an apartment, well, that's not qualified housing.
Yeah.
So,
okay. See, I thought you could use it for anything.
and that's where it's, different things like that. So I think it's a great opportunity.
But all that's explained in the information.
Correct. Yep, we give them they get more information than they care to read. They have an advisor they can talk to, somebody they can speak with. They also have a support staff through American Funds. American Funds is the largest funded 529 plan in North America.
So is this something y'all would go out to each school and,
Absolutely. We do a presentation, explain to them. If they choose to sign up, there's a website link they can go to. It's a 5-minute video. I just don't understand peripherals enough to get it up there for you to watch. But they just click on it, they watch it, and
get 20 people?
it explains to them basically what it is.
So, I'm just trying,
What,
yeah, I don't know if we have to put it on the agenda, is,
Discussion, input, and action.
I got it, maybe Ms. Odom can clarify, I just got an
I'd like to
email
take
that
some
said
time to
they'd
read
like
all
to
this.
present, so I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't want to
You
vote
would
now.
actually do a contract that the board would have to sign,
Nope.
right? This is just you're going individually, so I don't believe it would have to come back when thinking about it. It's, none of our other companies that do the 403Bs have contracts with the district.
Right, I didn't think
well, it's like
our
Nikki
ability
said,
to
if
go
you've
out
got
and try
a few
to,
people that want to
talk
sign
to
up,
some
they
of
can
our
do it.
employees and everything.
do you know if we already have a
We do
529?
not have a 529.
Okay.
We have, they
Well, I'm
talked to
all
me
for that.
also about the 403B, and that was briefly mentioned. And we, as a board, we did approve back in 2009 to only use companies that are on the IBC model plan.
Okay.
And that plan guarantees the best rates for our employees and the best benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a company that they can go under that is on the
And you can-
Shyster.
model plan
Okay.
for
You-
403B.
Yeah, you can borrow money from a 403B, but when you do, you're gonna have to pay interest, and you're gonna lose the interest that you make, so that's why I see the difference with the 529.
Well, I would say that if we verbally say it's a great idea, then they would be able to go schedule with the principals, make a presentation during pre-planning.
Yeah, it's
and-
really, I think that was more the
Yeah.
idea of
The
here.
reason we came before the board is because it is something new. We've
Yeah,
never had a
absolutely.
529 before.
And it's also too, there's no upfront costs for the people that put money in. All their money's working right away. There's no fees. No.
administrative.
And the only
And
cost-
American Funds takes care of all the administrative costs. They keep them all there. All they basically do is you would just have to take the money out, give it to them, they organize it. And then if,
I may be wrong, but correct me if I'm, like, if you compare it to the pre-K, like we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about, the pre-K is guaranteed by the state of Florida now. This one is not. So
This is
there
an- right, this is an investment
someone
vehicle. Mm-hmm.
could lose money if they go.
and that's all explained, and they get the opportunity, but there's way more
But they can wait-
flexibility
they can make
Yeah.
with it,
too.
You can
because,
go out of state.
yeah, they can go
Prepaid's
anywhere
only
with it.
in- yeah.
They can go,
I think it's a great idea.
Well, you can in Florida.
I'm supportive. Anybody that
Fine with me.
our employees have the ability to put towards the college fund. I mean, with my two kids, got Florida prepaid, but I'd be like, okay, sign
well,
me
that's, you
up.
could do both. You could-
Yeah.
But that's not enough,
It's
I'm
not
telling you
enough.
right now.
So count me in as one of your 20.
Great, thank you.
You're Greg, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, it seems like you have a majority here that approved to go ahead and allow it, so minus me, you have to tell Mike I had to abstain,
Okay, I will.
okay?
I
But
appreciate it.
tell him I said hello. And
Sure will.
he needs to take me hunting. That'd be nice.
Oh, yeah, well hunted, yep. Awesome. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Work together to do it, so
Yep.
they'll out to the principal,
Bright Futures
you know, everybody leaving will be in August, probably
it's
before
the
you get out to
one
meet
board that
employees
said
and
no.
the 12 month.
Okay, fantastic.
Introduce y'all.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you so much.
I had to give her $1,000 a month. I'm not kidding.
Okay,
for real.
excuse me, let's move on to parent
About it.
Allison Marini to address the board regarding iReady testing.
This should be interesting.
Miss Allison, if you could come to the podium, we'd love to
Post on
have
the
you.
interlocking website. I have the
What site?
somebody I didn't know.
Morning. How are you?
Morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
doing very well. How are y'all doing?
Fine.
Good. Should I wait till everyone has their paperwork?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, we'll each.
First, I want you all to know I come to you as a parent and a volunteer and nothing more, nothing less. Okay? The data that I've collected is from friends and family, and it's not much, but it's something in my opinion. Okay. Good morning, honorable Putnam County members. My name is Allison Marini. I have 2 kids in our school system. I have a 2nd grader and a kindergartner and a preschooler, and they're all right over there. They come with me everywhere I go. Thank you for allowing me this time to express my thoughts about the use of iReady data in grades kindergarten through 2nd. I do not feel that iReady is an effective tool by which to accurately measure the performances of our students and our teachers. I fear we are losing enrichment to acceleration. I have spoken to numerous parents and teachers across Putnam County who agree. Most children, while in computer lab, focus on iReady. Kids ages 5 to 8 are being asked to take a test on a computer before they've even had basic computer skills. Why not use this time in lab to strengthen their computer skills so that when our kids reach 3rd grade and have to take these state mandated tests, they're ready and they're more prepared and possibly less nervous? Many of the kids in our county, especially on my side, have never touched a computer until they do go into kindergarten. So they don't have those foundational skills of computer testing. I fear the data we are collecting from iReady result is inaccurate. I have given each of you a chart with 6 students listed. All are anonymous except my own. JM is my kindergartner. The scores you see are individual assessments and iReady results. This data came from parents and teachers, like I explained. One that stood out to me is I believe it's student 2, student 2. I tested him. I sat down with him and read with him, and he read fluently beyond a 5th grade level, and this was in kindergarten. Yet your iReady test, not your iReady test, our iReady test, lists him at a level 1. And this is, I'm doing this firsthand, so I see it. You have 18 plus children in a room with one teacher. Sometimes, if they're lucky, they get a paraprofessional. 18 plus kids ages 5 to 8 that know very little about how a computer works. Yet, we expect the results of an iReady test and lessons to be an accurate measurement of their capabilities. A test that gives questions far beyond my child's standards. I've given each of you pictures of the questions my 2nd grader has encountered. One was from the fall and one was from February. And their multiplication and division. And she's in second grade. She's adding 3 numbers together and borrowing and whatnot. Which she would like to say something too, if she may, when I take a break. I also know that a student's growth is used to measure our teachers' effectiveness. What happens when a student has reached their grade level potential by mid-year? If they do not show growth, is the teacher penalized? And I've printed out the district goal because I found flaws in it, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. I'm definitely not perfect.
Point them out to us.
Yes, sir. Okay, your district goal is to maximize the learning of all students, which is wonderful. You have 4 points to get there. One is the growth and achievement of every student. However, if we're using iReady, and this, how can we measure a child's growth with what could be inaccurate data? iReady supporters may say it's accurate, but from my personal experience with the program, it does not look that way, as shown in the limited data I was able to get to give to you. Great teachers and leaders, which I fully believe we have throughout our entire county. How can we measure a teacher's full potential with what could be false results? Younger kids have short attention spans. They'll click the mouse for the sake of clicking or to get to that fun game in the middle. Some kids are being given lessons beyond their grade level and they're failing. And that's looking bad on them. But why grade a teacher on how a child performs on a lesson that they've never taught that child? Maybe there's aspects to this that I don't understand, but it bewilders me why we would put that on our teachers. Effective, equitable, and efficient use of resources. Some classrooms in West Putnam County have 2 to 3 working computers. Now our teachers are being pushed to give iReady, and they lack the resources to meet the already imposed requirement that iReady carries. Okay. So if removing iReady from kindergarten to second is an option that isn't even on the table, like if it's not going to happen, it needs some serious revision, in my opinion, and I think it needs to be looked at. A few months ago, I couldn't help but notice my children growing more and more frustrated with the program. The program for my second grader was asking her multiplication and division problems, and she's never been taught that. She got discouraged. My kids are smart, but you can't ask a kid to do something that they're not prepared to do. I propose once a child reaches the end of their standard and have the program loop back mid-year. Give them a review status. Let them master their grade level standards and skills before we ask them to go ahead to 3rd and 4th grade standards. Again, we're losing enrichment to acceleration. I don't know why we're in such a hurry to push all of this. And another issue was while she was taking the diagnostic exam, due to her lack of computer skills and literacy, she came across an issue with the computer, which was a glitch, which she couldn't fix on her own. So she failed it. But it could have easily been avoided had she known what to do. But she doesn't get, we ask them to take this test on a computer, 5-year-olds, to take an iReady test. And 6 and 7. And I'm going to second grade because I know when our kids get to 3rd grade, they take state mandate. The tests that count. I mean, these tests count, but these are the real pressure tests that make kids nervous. So why not prepare them the best that we can before they get there? I also have quotes I have some comments from parents and teachers across West Putnam County. I don't know how much time I have.
You have a little more time. Let's hear some of them.
Okay.
Good or bad, doesn't matter. We need to hear them.
Yes, sir. As a teacher, I thought it was a great tool for practice, but I don't think it should be used as a form of assessment. Younger students zone out, don't pay attention, play with the keyboard and mouse, go to the bathroom, can't put in their password, constantly take off their headphones. There are too many distractions. And I'm assuming this is referring to the probably kindergarten and 1st graders. I don't like that it bumps the students up to a new level instead of developing mastery. I had to go in several times and keep putting my students back where they need to be, which on that, asking, in my opinion, again, asking our teachers to not already do what they're doing because they have their plates full. I'm learning. I'm only up to second grade. But, and then asking, having them, putting the responsibility on them to go into each individual child, look at their scores, make it right for them, talk to that kid. I mean, there's only so much our teachers can do. iReady has some positive aspects, but the fact is it pushes students beyond where their teacher is working with them and drives them to the point of frustration and is challenging. Turning off domains to solve this doesn't allow for further enrichment in the category, which is often needed. Having little children dividing fractions or reading passages that take them an hour and a half to get through, which is 2 weeks, because our specials, our computer lab is once a week, which has been cut to 30 minutes, which I disagree with too.
Allison, give us about 2 more, and then we'll address it.
I'll give you one more, if that's okay, and then I'll have my daughter come up.
Okay.
Because that was all on her own.
It's 3 minutes.
I'd rather hear her than I would Miss Crawford.
You got to put up with that?
It's constant.
She'll pop me.
An hour and a half to get through, which is unacceptable and unproductive. Then to have teachers' growth based on something that is 2 or 3 levels beyond what they are teaching in the classroom is puzzling. To require 1.5 years of growth for all children is also a strange and often unacceptable demand. Some children have maxed out several categories as fluents and phonics and gaining 1.5 years of growth points in 3 categories instead of 6. When a child is already above grade level is at some point asking too much. Madeline, would you like to come up? Come on up. I had nothing to do with this. This is her.
Oh, I don't know. I think you look like you had a lot. She looks just like you.
Well, we'll claim her.
Yeah.
I'll pick her up.
We love hearing.
You want to sit in the chair so you can reach the microphone?
Just adjust that microphone.
Okay. There you go.
Down here. You have to walk up and just speak right into it.
Hi, my name is Madeline Marini, and I disagree with iReady because it's pushing me on math. I still need to practice addition and subtraction, and it moved me up to multiplication. I failed that, and it moved me up to division. It's supposed to move me down and not up. I feel like I need to get the answer right, but how can I? I have not been taught these things before.
Good job.
Very good.
Any way you want. Want to go that way? Yeah. Okay. So that's all. It's really just, I'm new to all this. I'm new to the school system, but it just feels so obvious to me that there's just something wrong with that iReady program.
It's not only iReady, but that's part of it. Legislation has demanded that we jump through certain hoops, and if a child doesn't learn what the legislature says they should learn by a certain time period, then it creates other flags that come down, and it is a mess, and it is absolutely ridiculous. And I would love to see us schedule a workshop following on what Mr. Paget presented on the pre-K that we're trying to do, to look at early learning and to see what we can do. I had a discussion with the superintendent the other day that, instead of Tallahassee sending people down here to try to tell us what we're doing wrong, we know what's wrong. We don't have enough people to pull these children out and go one-on-one. And when you look at that math equation for a second grader, I can remember, they throw stuff in that kids shouldn't be exposed to.
And you see how I had her solve it?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to do.
If they skew the data somehow, so it is.
Yeah, that's absurd.
If we could,
I think
Madam
so.
Superintendent, we'd like to schedule a
Well, how
workshop.
about, because this is a research-based program that
Right.
we have purchased, and Laura France is our Director of Elementary Education, I'd like her to be able to answer some of these questions for you at this time.
I don't know that she can answer all of the questions. that
No,
we'll
but she
have,
can give you at least a
certainly
general
can come back.
statement.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we don't like a lot of what we have to do either, but the state tells us what we have to do, and
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of options, but I'll
Is
let.
this
I'll
something
let
we
Ms.
have to do?
No.
No, iReady is what we've chosen because it's
Right.
research-based. I'll let
Right.
Ms. France tell you
Well,
about it.
I'll go sit down. Thank you very much for your
Allison.
time.
Thank
I
you
really
so much.
appreciate y'all.
Thank you for spending so much time.
And I
also.
enjoy Interlochen Elementary's website
Hey.
and all the.
Oh, I do. It's a great school.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
welcome to come visit anytime y'all want.
Hey.
And come back and let us know things from time to time. We're not magic. If you don't know, we can't find out.
share.
Is
Thank
this
you
all
very
the
much.
same thing, or is this a packet?
This is just one.
It's an iReady package.
Oh.
Just some talking points. Sorry.
Are these all the same?
Well, the thing about it is, they're gonna say,
I don't know. It's research. I don't care about research.
I just don't know what is.
When is this contract renewed, and how much does it cost before we get started?
We would need to ask Title I. It comes through Title I.
How much is it?
Title I contributes, this year we contributed, was it 210 close? And then
It's
about
$210?
No.
10,000.
It's ridiculous.
And
It is
40,000,
ridiculous.
I just added the second middle school.
And when does it renewed come to the board?
I think it already has, we've already paid for
Great.
next year.
Well, not the elementary portion, the middle school portion.
Middle school.
And it may not be exactly 210.
I think it's that
can
much.
see that line item in my budget, I allowed at least that much. It may be a little less than that, Laura. I don't have the exact.
PD was covered in there. I think it was like 180 maybe.
Okay.
Excuse me, Debbie, when you say we covered, did money come out of the general fund or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
That was the total cost and it came from
For
Title
the
I.
Supplemental, instructional.
Thank you.
material.
So I gave you two pieces of paper. One is just a talking point about what Putnam County is using iReady for. The second one, which is front and back, is actually the most recent correlation between iReady and FSA to show that correlation, that's very strong correlation between passing iReady or scores on iReady and how they correlate with FSA, so it's a good predictor for us. And our third through fifth graders were actually included in this data.
And so how did that work out for us this year?
Well, remember, we have only received third grade scores back. So we can look at the correlation between third grade scores and iReady and FSA, but those are the only scores we've received back so far.
And what is that correlation?
Well, we've done a very brief one because we have to mark every kid back and forth, but it is in the 70% range. And that was without us pulling individual kids out. You know, survey 2 and 3, that kind of thing. So that kind of gives you the strong correlation and one of the reasons why we use the program. Some of the things that Ms. Moraney talked about are things that are honestly implementation problems. Teachers receive training. We've done this program now. This will be the second year complete. We are moving into using it for middle school. It is a diagnostic test, and in that diagnostic test, it does push kids for as far as they can go. So the diagnostic test kind of shows you where they are. And then they plan the lesson structure after that diagnostic test. The diagnostic test should be given in a couple of different settings. After that diagnostic test is given, then the lesson plan is in there for them. The teachers should check it at least weekly to make sure that kids are not failing lessons. Part of that we use that for is that diagnostic helps us in the district to present our data to the state as to where we are and where we have different needs. It helps us plan our intervention groups for all of our grade levels. In fact, this year we've gone away with FAIR. We're trying to reduce testing. And so the correlation between iReady and the FSA is really strong. So therefore, we don't need to continue to give FAIR to students. That's an additional test that's not necessary since we have the data here that we need. And so what it does.
When you talk in acronyms, I don't think people really understand what is FAIR.
The reading assessment that the state has required us to give for many years, kindergarten all the way through 11th grade? Or actually for any kid who's below.
Trying to let people know.
Okay.
exactly what you-
So it's a reading assessment. K to 2, it's individual. It has to be done one-on-one, which means you have to stop
We're
class.
not doing fair anymore.
We are not going to do fair. We did fair this year, but because we have the information that says this is a strong correlation, we can tell the state that we can use this only and not have to double test kids.
What about SAT 10?
The SAT 10, the only reason we've been using SAT 10 is to help us determine good cause exemptions and run our summer school numbers. Now that we have the data back from iReady, we can probably make that determination after Diagnostic 2 as to how many kids will probably be going into summer school and how many kids will need to take the SAT 10.
So you're using that information from iReady to determine which kids need to go to summer school. So are they, I mean, is it going to be
Partially.
based on like this multiplication question given to this second-year-old? And they don't?
No. And one of the things I would say is this
Because
partially.
I didn't learn the multiplication tables till the 5th grade.
I had to tutor her through school.
But things have changed with the state. If you look at the standards that
I understand
students in
that.
kindergarten through second grade are supposed to know, it's not what we were required to know.
Well, and I would say,
I
the
realize that.
diagnostic helps you give a placement for a kid, so where they should go. And so, like, my child has almost tested out of geometry. So she's really, and I'm talking about my third grader going into 4th grade. She's tested out of geometry. So she does really well in that domain of math, but her number sense is right on level. So it's not that she's great across the board in math. There's one area that she's really good in, one that we could continue to work on. When that diagnostic is given and she's much higher in geometry than, let's say, number sense, they're going to assign her lessons in number sense more frequently because there's no reason to give her a geometry lesson. And the lessons are, yeah, it's kind of like clapping out until you get there. The lessons, really, the format is, it's a teaching tool. It gives them, so when it's a lesson, it gives them a lesson. It walks them through how to do the next steps. Then there is a guided practice where a kid gets kind of like a opportunity to answer questions on their own with some support that the computer scaffolds in with saying, no, move this over a place value. This is, kind of pay attention to what you're doing here. And then it goes into a test that the kid has to pass. If the kid passes the test, then it moves on into the next lesson. If the kid fails the test, which is one of the things I was hearing Ms. Moraney talk about, and her daughter, it actually does give the next assignment. And it's almost like a reteach. And that is very frustrating to kids. And one of the things that she talked about, the lessons that are really, really long in reading, they're called close reading lessons. We've had a lot of complaints. We've actually talked to the company about the fact that those close reading lessons, when you're getting into the 4th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade lessons, they span over about an hour. It is a long lesson. There are stopping points where you can stop the lesson and start it back up at another time. But if you have a young child who is in that area, they're going to have those close reading lessons. We've been working with the company and complaining and saying that those are really hard for kids and we need a different way. They're good lessons, but they need to be structured a different way. And we've been talking to the company about seeing if that's something they could have a domain that we could turn those off so that we don't have those kids, the kids getting those lessons and getting frustrated. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
When the kid doesn't pass something 2 times in a row, it does shut the domain off. It alerts the teacher on their homepage that there's a problem and that and it gives them materials that the teacher could intervene with to help the kids support. So it might be that they're not learning it from the instruction on the computer, but here's something that the teacher can do face-to-face in a small group with these 3 kids who are struggling with that concept, and then sending them back and turning that domain back on. So it has a lot of pieces that allows kids to get practice and to move forward, but it also allows a way for when a child comes to a struggle, there are materials there that the teacher can pull to do small group or individual as necessary. So it's a paper product if you print it off.
Right. I have a couple questions. It's okay, Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
So teachers have to build this into their daily lesson plans of all the other things that they're doing?
We ask them to differentiate instruction, and this should be one of the centers that they use. The requirement that the district, 45 minutes a week for math, there is no benefit for going over 45 minutes. The studies show kids who use it a lot more than that don't show tremendous growth. So 45 minutes for reading, 45 minutes for math. It can be in 20-minute segments. It can be in one segment if that's what the school has picked. But generally, we've asked them to make that a station, a computer station in their room. And while they're doing differentiation, students are assigned to iReady to work, so that then that can also be a small group for the teacher.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. Every teacher has more than one working computer in their classroom?
For 2 years, we've worked with schools to make sure that there are at least 4 computers in every class for a station. A lot of our schools have gone, where there's almost a class set at every grade level.
Okay. And then my last question, I think it's my last question. It sounds like computer literacy is a big issue with our little ones. How can we remedy
There are
that?
teaching tools, and actually, we just came back from Sarasota County. They use iReady in all of their Title I schools, and they've increased it into their middle schools. They're seeing tremendous amounts of growth with their students in Title I, and those are they assign it school-wide to their Title I schools. They gave us a lot of ideas of how they've been using it and implementing it. One of the things I would say is that they do not test their kindergarten children until like the last week of that assessment, so that before that, it's mouse skills, keyboard skills.
Right.
And what they've been using in Sarasota County is a program called Smarty Ants that we're looking at for K-2, that is computer literacy skills prior to. And so they actually assign kids that Smarty Ants that teaches them that piece prior to giving them the computer-based test. However, the test does give you red and yellow hands. They give you flags. For any kid that rushes through the test, spends less than 10 seconds on a question, and it looks like they're clicking through, those flag for the school so that they can reteach and test again if necessary. Or if they think that's an accurate picture, moving on, that's up to the school. There are also tools that come with the program that you show to kids prior to the diagnostic, so that it kind of gives them an idea of what they're going to take and how it's important for them to take their time and try to do their best, because it does create their instructional path by what they make on that diagnostic.
I thought of one more question.
Go ahead.
What is the overall opinion of your teachers that are using iReady?
Those that have learned how to use it as differentiation and are pulling in the additional lessons or assigning additional lessons, child needs extra support in multiplication, they can assign another lesson to them. Those that are using it and using it well are growing their children in large amounts. We also have resistance, or people feel like it's a babysitter, and that's not what it is supposed to be. It is supposed to allow children differentiation, that they have some time to work on their own, because they cannot have FaceTime with the teacher all day long. And this gives them an opportunity to work ahead, work behind, work wherever they are, to get a little bit better before they get to that teacher group.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. On here, it talks about the different types of assessments that we do give. We give the diagnostic next year. Our plan is to give it to K-8. That helps us figure out our intervention groups. It helps us decide kind of where we need to place some more support for grade levels or schools that have a large number of students not passing. We also do growth monitoring. This allows teachers to be able to see if kids are growing at an appropriate pace along with their peers. We plan to actually use that. That was one of the things we visited Sarasota County for, using that with our RTI MTSS process. They are using that growth monitoring report more to support their process, and I'm trying to find a way to help relieve some of the work from the teachers on trying to get those growth monitoring pieces. And the last thing is the standards mastery. We tried it out. It's a new part of the program. It is a 6 to 10 question test. It's 10 if it's like language conventions. It's 6 if it's one of the other areas. And it is based on the standards and how they should be assessed. It is a computer-based test. It runs along with the different types of assessment questions that they will come in contact with when they take the, because eventually FSA will be computerized from 3rd grade up. And so kids have multi-select items, they have items that they have to type in numbers. So this gives an opportunity to encounter those types of problems prior to sitting down in front of the FSA and taking it for the first time. This year, we kind of assigned those to the schools to try themselves. This year, all of the standards assessments will go back to the schools. The schools will determine when they want to assign them and what they want to do. It won't be a district decision. We've made the tests for them so that they can select them, but it's the school's decision as to when to give those standards assessments, the standard mastery test.
Any other questions?
I'd like to comment. I'm probably the only one up here besides Charlie that's not an educator. So I rely on the superintendent to hire good people, which she has, and you to figure out what's right to do. Everything has its glitches, everything's got its negatives, but what I see is that we're willing to address them and do our best to work them out, so.
Some of the things that I think it's teacher, we do training. All of these schools will receive more training this year. And all of our schools that are elementary school will now go into the practice sites. Because we've been implementing the program, we don't need beginners. We need to know how to use it more effectively. Our teachers that are brand new will join our middle school teachers to go in, because all the middle school teachers, they'll be starting the brand new course. So our new teachers that we hire will join the middle schoolers to get that brand new course. Our teachers that have been using the program, they will get like a practicing users PD, which will allow some of these problems. One of the teachers I spoke to when I talked to her, she didn't realize she could turn off those domains. And so we use best practices all the time. Part of that is if a kid is encountering something and a teacher said, well, I assign it for homework. I said, it wasn't supposed to be assigned for homework. It was supposed to be done in your class because you should be able to monitor how much they're using it, that you don't really want them using it more than 45 minutes. That there's no effect size. In fact, it makes kids drained from using it. And so, we talked about the fact that when a kid comes into a problem, you could turn off that domain if it's way beyond where you are. Or you could say, wow, she really worked through that diagnostic, probably got placed higher than she should have, and let's push her back into the lesson segment. The teacher has complete control of all of those things. I think it's their comfort level or how much they feel like they can adjust. But this next season,
the time
this is a real time saver for teachers, because it is not, if you remember having to do centers in your classroom and trying to differentiate and create an individual center for students that are working on a standard. This is one of those centers that they do not have to work on. It's one that is directed directly to that child's need. And that allows the students to work forward or work behind, but it gives the teacher a few minutes
Well, are
that
they
a kid
still
is.
able to do like manipulatives and things like that? That used to be really important.
It is, and actually in the math program, it does, it's obviously it's not manipulative because it's not in their hand, but it does do a pictorial representation where kids have to move things. So, I mean, concrete is right in your hand, but pictorially, if a kid can move it. One of the things I did see in Sarasota that the teachers talked about with math is they keep the manipulatives on the desk so that if a kid needs to change and do it with their hand before they can move it in picture, that they have that option. There were a couple of things in Sarasota that we saw that were really high yield uses of this program that we'd like to replicate. How long have we had it? This will be the 3rd year I've used it in summer school. Before we ever started using the program district-wide, we tried it out in summer school first for summer reading camp 3rd grade. So this is the 2nd full year of implementation for us.
And what you need to understand is we are required by law to do differentiated instruction in the classroom and to progress monitor students. There are lots and lots of programs out there. We have sat down and looked at them. The state says they have to be research-based, so that eliminates some programs. We have to give teachers a tool that they can use, and particularly in the elementary, where they have to have centers. So every child can't be with the teacher every minute. So the teacher has a group of children, a group go to the computers, and a group go to a separate center that might have the manipulatives. And we constantly do training with teachers on that repeatedly, because we're supposed to provide professional development anyway. But we sit down and look at what's available, and we look at what other school districts are using, and we look at what correlates with the FSA, which is the Florida Standards Assessment. And if you look at the standards that kids in elementary school have to master, it is tremendously more difficult than anything you or I did at that age. And we have to give teachers and students a tool that they can use that's research-based and also cost-efficient. That sounds like a lot of money from Title I, but believe it or not, that's one of the less expensive programs. And so many more of the school districts are using them, so we know they're effective. Our problem in Putnam County, again, God bless our children, but you go to St. Johns County, those pre-K through kindergarten, second grade students, their parents have computers and iPads at home that they're playing with long before they ever come to school.
Right.
Our students don't get that. So our teachers have to do double duty. They have to teach them all of that, expose them to it, and move forward with the progress monitoring and the differentiated instruction at the same time. And it's hard for a teacher in elementary school who has kids that maybe are exposed to that at home, and they're way above some of the other kindergartners in their class. How do you manage that as a teacher? And this is one of the tools that they have to do that. So we put a lot of long hours into looking at what is best for the students, what's best for the teachers. So this wasn't a random decision, just pull it out of a hat. This has taken a lot of study and effort, and nothing new is ever easy. And, if you've got a suggestion on something that would work better, please let us know. We'll be happy to look at it.
I will say they are adjusting some of the, to teach a child to read, you kind of go through those same steps. If you ever look at any phonics program, it's built pretty much the same way all the way through. It just depends on what you like. The reality is that the lower grades were built first, and they are less attractive than the upper grade materials. The upper grade materials look newer when the kids encounter them in the computer. However, they are rewriting all of those, and all of K-2 reading will look different next year. It'll be more interactive. I think that will increase people's interest, to be honest with you. The graphics are pretty rudimentary compared to what we see up in the upper grade. So I think that may support some of that. They are increasing that program on the lower end for interaction for students.
Well, I would still like to schedule a workshop during the summer. Doesn't have to be the next board meeting, but a workshop where we could have our elementary principals also come and tell us what their concerns are and see what we can do as a board. I understand we have the red tape of the legislation of the grading of the schools. And they've set that up to declare failing schools. Who's going to fail? It's going to be normally the poor economic schools in the state of Florida are going to be the ones that fail. And that's only to provide parental options. It's a political deal. And they've already sent a state team here. Is anybody here with the state DA team?
No, they'll be here at the July meeting.
Okay, and I no offense to them, but I'd rather take the money in their salaries and travel and time staying here and, hire paraprofessionals go in and do pull-ups.
But that's not an option that we have.
That's not an option, but that's a
They
dream.
come from the State Board of Education, and we are required to work with them and follow their
telling
suggestions.
you,
So
in a
I
perfect
know,
world,
I know. In a
I'd
perfect
love-
world, it'd be wonderful for us too, but
But I will
doesn't work that way.
I would look forward to us arranging a workshop and have a presentation on, is there anything the board can try to do? We've heard from Mr. Paget and in our goals on the pre-K, to see if what we can do to enable the instructional division to find a way to, if this is the route to go, and to hear from individual principals if they need some type of latitude that legally they can get. But their hands are so tied up by state standards, we've got to find a way to, as a board, help you guys do your job more efficiently.
I would just like to see the correlation after we get the math scores is in that workshop, the correlation between the iReady scores and the FSA, for math, I know math isn't
It's in
yet.
there. That's the second graph.
No, I'm saying our specifically.
Oh, okay.
I
All
just
right.
want to see
Our
third
3
grade.
through 5 students are part of this group. Not all of our, all of our 3 through 5 students are part of this group, but there are a lot more people. They've taken every
Yeah.
kid across the state.
Right, and I'm not interested across the state because our county is very unique and this is all research-based and I just, there's no buy-in. Everybody I've spoken with they're not buying to this program and I'm very upset that we spent so much money and I don't see results. Maybe they're there, but I would like to do something better. And I know the state tires our hands. What are they going to do? Hold our funding? Give us a bad audit for it, not
can.
using it?
They
Well,
can hold off funding.
They can
yeah,
do-
they can, and that's what
I
I'm saying.
will say it does support many things that we must do, as Ms. Crystal was
Right,
saying.
and that's what I said. How
Progress
much is-
monitoring that we must do
Yeah.
K and up. It does support a lot of the pieces that we need, and I do know that people are frustrated when you've asked them to do something. But in the case of 45 minutes a week in reading and 45 minutes a week in math, that is not that long in a center if you worked
Right, but
20
like
minutes.
Prodigy and Go Noodle, my kids love that. Every kid loves that. So why do they not love iReady? It's all research based, but it's all.
I don't know that Prodigy actually is. I would have to go back and look. One program that was asked for us to look at literally is not teaching students how to do math. It is going over and over again at the same. It never really stops and says you've done this wrong. This is what you need to do. And it was basic computation, which is not the new standards.
Right. I'm sure that's a
And I'd
problem.
have to go back and look. And this does have games that are associated with it, but you must work a certain amount of time before you're given a limited amount of time to play a game, and then you get to go back in. It's that brain science of reward, reward, play, reward, reward, play. If I remember Prodigy, it's a lot of there's no. A child can play for a long period of time visiting other places before they go into practicing the math, but I'd have to go back and look at it.
State requirements, I understand that.
Yeah,
But
and
Ms.
that's-
Crawford, I'll give you the last question.
Well,
and we'll
it's not a question. I just want to say, just because I have questions and concerns doesn't mean that I, don't support this. I don't know enough about it. And I think that's, that having a workshop is a good idea. I wouldn't mind knowing how y'all decided on this program instead of something else. Doesn't mean I have this
Right.
wonderful idea how to solve all these problems. I just had questions and concerns.
Well, if you would like the principals, so I can see what time the next schedule is, that we can have them all here. We have a meeting, I can't remember what time it is, that they review all of our data for us for this school year, and they present, what schools had the best use, that kind of thing for us.
I'd love to be at that.
And it doesn't need to be this formal where we sit here like this. We can put tables up and sit around.
No, it's fine, and I could also have the company come and give a brief overview, better than I can, as to what they
That
do.
sounds great.
I don't want to hear from the company.
I know you don't, but if you want to hear from the expert, that's who you ask.
But we need to provide a program that does what the state says we have to do in the
understand
differentiated
that.
instruction and the progress monitoring. Any program we purchase is going to be expensive, and it means that the teachers are going to have to learn it. So you're going to have people complaining, because even our teachers don't like to learn something new, but it's the only way we can provide them with tools to do what the state says we have to do.
I would say that most of the schools at this point have determined that they would like to use the not the iReady, but the Ready print materials. A lot of them have ordered the Ready print materials next year. Several schools have ordered the toolbox, which is all of the print materials electronically accessed, so that every teacher has every grade level of every tool. So if I have a child that's in third grade and needs a first grade standard, I can pull it out and I can work with that kid. So most of our schools have already bought into the program by purchasing the supplemental products.
Well, and I understand, buy-in's hard a lot of times.
It
I
takes
didn't
more
want to
than 2
have to
years,
use a
I have to
computer
be
when,
honest.
And I'm
when
I'm
we
like
first started
Mr. Crawford.
using them.
It's nothing personal. It's just what can we do as a board to help
teachers,
you know,
yeah.
the superintendent and the staff do these things that they need to do. And I'm going to wind up with, Allison had one last question she wanted to ask.
Oh, no, I just wanted to suggest, if you're gonna hold a workshop already, since I'm hearing a lot of complaints from teachers, why not include your elementary school teachers?
It'll be open to the
It's
public.
open.
Fantastic.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
They can
Okay,
ensure they
moving
don't-
on, we have Raptor Virtual Volunteer Management Software.
Well, the thing is, they're gonna be scared of, Dan, they'll be scared to come to school.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know which one it does. Nikki, would you pass it?
Thank you. Thank you for your time this morning. My name is Brent Thomas. I'm with Raptor Technologies. I also have in the audience our Vice President in charge of sales. His name's Dan Trepanier. Dan, stand back there. And unfortunately, we couldn't hook up to your system here to project, so we're going to project up on the wall over there if you have
Must
any.
be having a bad day on that.
I need some more coffee.
Miss Crawford's fault.
I apologize to the people behind me. I'm not taking what we do. So, once again, I'm with Raptor Technologies. What we do is visitor screening, visitor monitoring to all people who come into your schools. And talk a little bit about the company, and please don't be concerned, I'm not gonna put you into a PowerPoint coma this morning. But, I'm gonna go over a little bit of specifics about the company and about the product, and then we'll get right into it. So again, we're with Raptor Technologies. Our company's out of Houston. These are some of the schools that we serve. We serve around 15,000 schools across the nation. We're the largest of the visitor management companies in schools. More importantly, as far as Florida, and I know everybody wants to know what you're doing in our state or around us, here are some of the districts that we serve in Florida. Orange County Schools is our largest customer in Florida. We serve all 205 schools within your district, as well as other buildings as well. It could be the central office, or we might have other auxiliary buildings also. Most notably around you, I've listed down at the bottom, there's Marion, Volusia, Clay, and I'm sorry if I butcher some of these names. Levy, Seminole is going to the board for board approval. So these are some of your customers, some of our customers that are new with you. We served Florida since 2005, and we actually serve more school districts in Florida than our next two competitors combined. And Dan, I think you had an interesting number. You talked about how many schools, one out of three schools in Florida use our product. So, with that, I'm going to get into the actual software itself, show you how it works. So what happens is Raptor, as I said, is a visitor management system, and it's running on the school, the front desk attendance machine. So we'll just kind of role play this for a minute. Let's say that one of your schools is Johnson Elementary School. So the first time that I come into your school, we use some form of identification, government ID. In this case, it's going to be my Tennessee driver's license. And what I do is I go in, I say, hi, I'm Brent Thomas. I'm here maybe for a conference. The front desk attendant has seen some form of identification. I hand them my ID. He or she scans, in this case, the driver's license. What it's doing now is it's pulling information about me from the barcode on the back. If something happens that the barcode is damaged on the back, then it's going to use OCR technology to pull from the front.
Hear me?
See, there's my first name, last name, unfortunately my date of birth. My license number, and most importantly is a photograph comes from my ID. Oh, thank you. I don't know if I can hold all of them at the same time, but I'll try. So most notably here, there is no confidentiality problems because we're only going to store the first four numbers of the driver's license. So there's not an issue with vital information being stored. So the attendant puts in, I'm going to a conference, presses submit and print, and then instantly and automatically it's going to check all 750,000 sex offenders across all 50 states, and I've been cleared. There's the badge, has a visitor, the date, the time, my name, and where I'm going within the building. So I put it on my lapel, go down to the conference or whatever the purpose is that I'm there for, and then I come back. There's a couple of ways I can check out. I can actually go to a kiosk, or I can go to the front desk, and the person can check me out by simply looking at viewing visitors. Signs me out that way, and now there's a record that I've been in the building. So let me show you what it would look like if there was a match against a sex offender. Can you hold that just for a second? Thank you.
Alert, alert.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that John Doe comes in. And yeah, that's an interesting picture. You got to love the picture. So John comes in and he says, I'm here maybe to go on a field trip. I'm going to press submit. And now what happens is it's checking the sex offender registries in all 50 states. And there's been 4 possible matches with his name and date of birth. It's also checking against aliases. So if someone has been booked under an alias name, it will check against that. You can see here John Doe, John Christopher Doe, the birth date's the same. Is this a match? No, it's not a match. This one is an alias match. Prince Charmaine Washington was actually booked under John Doe, but that's not a match, so I'm going to click no. There's the match. So what the front desk attendant would do,
Scary look.
click yes, that's a match. Are you sure? Now what happens behind the scenes are administrators, what we call first responders, are notified that there's been a match against a sex offender in the building. They're going to receive a text and an email talking about this person that's entered. And here's an example of the email. So I can see the person that is logged in or come into the building. Yes, that would be great. Thank you. Who they've been matched against. And then if you want to know records about what offenses this person has created or committed, then they can go to that state registry and see that.
So what are they going to do with this information? Are they going to let him in the school
So
or
that's
not?
one example of a type of alert that goes out. We also have different alerts. We also have what we call private alerts. And these are used in like custody issues. Could be banned employees, known gang members. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll type in Alan Meeson. So Alan comes in and he says, I'm here to maybe have lunch or go on a field trip with my son Sam. So we'll say go on a field trip. I'm going to press submit. And now you're going to see, wait just a minute. There's a private alert that says Edmund is not allowed to have contact with Sam via the court order that's on record. And again,
So
this
that
could
would
be
depend
for
on
private alerts
what we have on
for
record.
So for whatever that you want to find someone coming into your
Well,
school.
unless it's on clerk of court, it might do that. I have to ask him.
So is this a match?
Looks like it to me.
Thank you. So is this a match? I'm going to click yes. First responders are notified via text and email that Alan is here trying to pick up or see Sam, and he's not allowed to do so.
Responders like deans or principals.
We also have other notifications. We have what we call an emergency button. If you click the emergency button, you have 5 seconds to undo it, or it's going to email, text, and do an automated call to first responders that you have an emergency at the front desk of that building, much like a silent alarm. The last one, the last type of alert that you see, is what we call an instant alert. It's much like an Amber Alert. So you can put that in. This is an example I put together this morning. It says that you're having a lockdown at one of your high schools. And then this would be scrolling at the bottom of the screen of Raptor at all the other schools. So maybe that there's been a child that's been abducted by a white van and you wanted everyone to know about it, you could do that. Maybe there's some kind of weather alert that you want to notify other schools about. This is a method to do that. Any questions so far?
So, back to the one that came up as the sexual offender.
Right.
Is it going to be the person that's operating this thing?
No,
It's
no, it's not.
responsibility to say,
So what happens, this is what we train, is don't go screaming down the hallway if someone comes in. We just say, we're sorry, sir, we're having a problem with our system. Would you please have a seat?
okay.
And then he, in this case, wouldn't know that behind the scenes they're being,
And then
they're
Travis
first
would come out and take care of it?
No, the public does not see that.
No.
No, I mean our security guy.
And we actually have a kiosk version for return visitors.
So if something happened that, let's say I was cleared, and actually this did happen on a private alert, and in the school district that I live in and used to work, I'm a recovering educator, so I get the twitches when I go into schools now. But what happens is if you go to a kiosk and sign in as a return visitor, and there's some kind of alert that comes up, such in the case of me, it was a private alert because my son hadn't paid his lunch money, and they wanted me to come. And so what happens was I came to it, typed in, and it said, "Please see the front desk attendant." I go to the front desk attendant, and they say, "Oh, Brent, we're glad you're here. Seth owes lunch money." And they had an envelope. They gave it to me. So that's one way you can use it. But there's never any kind of alert notification to me that I would know what's going on, that I've been flagged. So that's the way the visitors work, to talk about types of reports you can do, various reports. And again, this is going to be demographic demo data that's not really comprehensive, but it'll give you an understanding of how the system works. So let's say you wanted to know, and you can run this for all of your buildings. So if you wanted to know who had logged into all of your buildings from the central office, you could. You can see who's logged in currently. But right now, I'm just going to say I want to know who has visited Johnson Elementary School this past month. Press submit. And now what it's doing is it's running a report, and I can see the people that have logged in, how long they were there, what they were there for. I can export that out into different formats as well. We also have a report that's called a Who's in the Building report. And we actually developed this for law enforcement. So if there is a lockdown situation, I can click that building or that report, and it's going to email whoever that you want emailed a list of everyone that's in the building.
Board, any other questions? Ms. Crawford?
There are other modules. If I'll go over real quickly. Any questions? Yes.
Does it require a dedicated computer at each school, or it can be?
Actually, we run off of a majority of the time. We run off of a computer that they already have.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's all web-based.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you have access to the web, we can run just about virtually off of any system.
I'd like to hear from Travis at some point.
Travis, I want to ask you a question if you'd come up in just a couple. I was thinking the same thing as I stepped out for a second, because we have access to law enforcement databases, and Travis, would not we have the same access? We don't?
No, sir. What we do currently, when we have visitors, all we have access to is to check them against the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's registry. This checks all 50 states across the United States.
And to give you an idea, we flag 30 new sex offenders a day going into schools across the nation.
Across the United States or
Yep.
Florida?
No, 30 across the nation, 30 a day. That's new ones a day coming into schools.
Well, it hasn't been long ago that I was at Johnson Elementary School, but it was to watch a softball game. So we don't have, we would have to ask for your recommendation on what you feel like is.
Well, again, that's just one module that Raptor is capable of doing for us. He's about to go through the others, but
Okay.
I've seen this in the past. It is advertised at a lot of school safety conferences. I've been very impressed. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I like the technology.
Can you just
So-
kind of give us an idea on what a package like this costs?
The base package is $1,600 per school the first year, and then $480 per school every year thereafter for support renewal.
And
then we also have a full background check service, which your district was interested in when I presented to your executive team, and we can talk more about that, but that's for like
Okay.
volunteers that do full background checks.
We'll continue to hear what you got. I knew they had a couple of questions.
Sure.
I
Oh,
just
sure.
do. Okay.
So-
Not expensive.
So the next module that I'll show you real quickly is this, what we call the student module. And in the student module, it's used for signing in and out students,
Get rid of the
parties and for early dismissals. So let's say that I go in and I'm gonna bring my student in. So Seth Thomas comes in, or my son.
My goal right now,
If I can type.
Community in schools.
to do these background checks.
So that's what we pay now to community in schools.
So Seth comes in, He says that he's tardy,
Pay for mine.
and that there was some, maybe missed the bus. I'm going to press submit and print. Now what it's going to do is it's going to say, wait just a minute, according to your business processes at your school, he's assigned a detention hall. Now, obviously at elementary school you wouldn't do this, but he's assigned a detention hall. So so I can assign him a detention hall at some time. I'm going to say today. We'll go ahead and assign it today. I'm going to press submit, and it's going to print his tardy slip.
Oh, God, that'd be a.
And it's going to have here the reason
Well, at
why
my
he
high school,
was.
that'd be a-
And you can turn this off, by the way.
Oh, what?
Detention slip, or his tardy slip and a detention slip. So if he was headed down to the detention hall, then he would have a note there. Again, you can turn this off if you don't want to use it that way.
That'd be a godsend at Palatka High School. I've written many a tardy slip. Woo!
Did you teach English?
So that's the one function of signing in a student. Most important, and this is the one that all of our customers love, especially Orange County with the size of school district they have, is signing out students. So let's say that Seth hadn't been there long today, and he's going to sign out. Now it will show me an approved pickup list of who's allowed to pick up Seth. If I click on, let's say that friend Larissa Trebrig comes in to pick him up, I click on Larissa's name, press submit. Now it's done a check of Larissa, both on sex offender screening and private alerts, and it's got a record that Larissa picked Seth up for this reason at this date and time.
The basic just says it. I don't
Questions
know if it
about
actually
that?
Does the background or does the actual machine?
The adults, that comes from when they come in to scan, you actually have them scan in because within your student information system, you don't have their birth dates. So what we do is when they come in, you scan their ID and then you can associate them with a student.
See, this one's 1800 instant sex offender.
Right. Yep. I can run student reports the same way. So if I want to know who's tardy or who's signed out, whatever type of report, the reporting options run the same way.
Does it have if you have a parental custody dispute and a judge hasn't rendered a judgment or has rendered a judgment, is there a way that that's worked into this as well? Because I've had to resolve stuff by calling a circuit judge with kids over the years, in a parking lot.
I'm sorry, so do you mean?
Does it handle the judgments from court as well? Like if you're gonna pick a child up or you're gonna.
You can put that in as a private alert, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, you can. And we actually have some districts that we open it up to the police department. If, for example, in my home state of Tennessee, we have a district called Carter County Schools, and they're actually about the size of your school district, and they put in local warrant restraining information. They have it open to the judicial department at the courthouse that puts in that information. So you can put it in however you want. I mean, some schools put it in at the school level. Some schools have it put in at the district office, central office level, and then some will actually open it up to the courts and records department.
So that answers a question. I know recently we had a problem in the community and it spilled over to one of our charter schools, and the superintendent was able to find out about it and let us know. Had to do with someone who committed an egregious act. And,
Right.
This would help us know who's been charged with, restraint and things like that from abuse and different things.
Right.
Okay.
So the next module is a faculty module. It's basically a time clock. So you can use it for your itinerant people, it could be technology, custodial people, maintenance people, whoever come in and goes to different schools. You could track them in and out as well. It's most notably used for substitute teachers as well, to track their hours. It can, and we have a number of ways that you can track and log people coming in and out. They can go to the front desk, or they could go to a kiosk with a barcode reader, and if they've got an ID, a faculty ID or some kind of ID with a barcode on it, then they can scan in and out there. Their hours. Questions? And I really don't have much to show you about that. It's kind of self-explanatory.
I think from here, what we need to do is have our security personnel, Travis and anyone else, sit down and figure out what we want, because these are all modules that.
They're all included,
Add-on
ma'am.
price, add-on price, add-on price.
No, they're all included. This is
they're
all
all-
included, ma'am. Everything's
All
included.
that you're showing us are included.
Yes, yeah.
For about 50,000 and then 500 a school, just under 500 a school a
Yes.
year maintenance.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
It's all,
really
it's
not
all
expensive
included.
at all. One time 50, and then 500 a year per school.
Yeah, schools,
You have a time clocking mechanism, you just turn it off.
Well, we-
You use it, you turn it on.
I would-
You wanna use something in the future.
It sounds too good to be true, and, you know, that's why I want to hear from Travis a little later, and we'll, you know, go from there, because it is one of our greatest nightmares, and it is for the people in school to let a child go or be in an area with someone that they should not be, and something awful could happen.
well, yeah, there was a district that just paid $2.8 million because they let a child go with someone that kidnapped them and took them across the border, which school's Escondido.
Yeah, well, that won't happen here.
The last module, and this is probably our second most used module behind the visitor module, it's for volunteers. So if I was fortunate enough to move into your district and you had Raptor, I could actually apply to become a volunteer online or come to one of the schools or the central office to apply to become a volunteer. So the way that it works, and I'm just going to show you, this could get in depth and take hours, but I'm going to give you the 5-minute accelerated version of it. So what happens is, to create a volunteer, I would go into a school in this case, and it would pull, I could put in my name, and it's going to pull over information. And then we would put in other types of information as well, and this is customized to what you want, but you can see there's task information. These are things that I would agree to sign up for as a volunteer. Any affiliations that I have, maybe like I'm a parent, I'm a business partner as well, and then I'm
great.
part of the PTA, PTO. Now, you can't see it, but there's a button down here, it says submit, I press that. Then what happens is it would go to the approval list for your volunteer coordinator to approve me. Or if you use our background checking services, it would go out and do a full background check on that volunteer. And those are some things that I've talked about with your system, with your people within your system. Yeah, and there is a fee for the background checks.
Okay.
Yep, and we've discussed that with them.
Well, board, any more questions, or do we want to, let's maybe have a time when we can let Travis make a presentation?
later.
It's on the agenda today,
It is on the agenda.
Under discussion.
under discussion and approval, so we're gonna have to vote on it later.
What is your recommendation, Madam Superintendent?
Well, he came and spent quite a bit of time with the management team. I was at a school, and Rhonda helped conduct that meeting, and so they could probably tell you more than I can. When I got back, they were pretty much finished, and they were all very impressed, including Rhonda, who, if you can impress her when you know you might have to spend some money, you've really done
You're
something.
doing
So-
something.
So, there were some other issues, like right now, the background screening that they are capable of doing. We currently pay communities and schools $28,000 a year to do that for the volunteers, and then we also have to pay FDLE. So we see this, Rhonda sees this as
So
a
that would
cost-saving
wipe that out?
measure as well. But that's something we can talk about more under the discussion agenda if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one public comment. There it is. I would like to ask for Dr. Whitman from Crescent City to please come to the podium over here and give us a presentation.
Lunch break. We're not gonna make it.
45 minutes?
Thank you.
We get there at 11:30 usually.
Oh. Good morning, thanks for coming.
Buenos días, todo el mundo.
Buenos
Buenos
dias.
dias.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Whitman, Spanish teacher, Crescent City High School, and teacher for the Federal Migrant Spanish GED class, which meets Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights at the Literacy Center next to Miller Intermediate School. 3 years ago, I walked into a portable at Middleton Burney to begin a Plaza Comunitaria class that I was teaching then, and saw Blanca with a bilingual dictionary looking up words. I asked her what she was doing, and she informed me that she was taking the preliminary exam for the English GED that we offered then, and that her employer had told her she would be let go if she didn't get her GED. She had 1 year to complete it. Knowing that she had dropped out of Crescent City High School and her 10th grade for language reasons, and knowing her level of English, I told her it would take more than a year to acquire that level of English to pass the areas of content in the GED exam. I said, let me see if I can get Linda Osborne to let me offer the GED in Spanish, because I knew that Daytona State College and also some of the other area state colleges that we have in Florida here had the GED in Spanish, and our students could take the test on their campus. Linda gave me permission the next day, and within a week I had a class of 12 adults. After 8 months of study, after taking the test, Blanca came into that same portable with tears running down her face, holding up her GED, saying, Profe, I got my GED, I got my GED. Thank you so much for your help. That moment, I must say, was one of the highlights of my teaching career. Since then, we have had 10 adults receive the GED, and the last one was Carlos, who was Blanca's brother. They both are now attending English classes at the Migrant Literacy Center, and Carlos hopes to start St. John's River in the fall. This class has had significant impact educationally and socially on the South Putnam Hispanic community. Many of the adults in the class have had children in my advanced placement Spanish class at Crescent City High School. With President Obama's executive order called the DREAM Act, the students meet one of its requirements to be enrolled in attending an educational program that enables them to get a Social Security number and a driver's license. 4 women that received the diploma have now been able to retain their employment. 4 of our students at Crescent City High School that did not graduate this year because of language issues are planning on starting the GED and hopefully get the GED this summer. When I was informed 2 weeks ago that the class would end as of July 31st and that there was no more funding, I was deeply hurt. I love these people. I speak their language. I understand their culture. I've worked hard to teach them to read and write Spanish correctly. Algebra, geometry, U.S. history, American history, world history, geography, earth and space science, and biology. To simply let this class end will have educational and sociological implications that will hurt the area families and community more than we can understand. I'm going to end with one more story. While standing in line at Save-A-Lot a month ago, I struck up a conversation with an older Mexican woman in front of me. It's always fascinating to watch their face when the gringo speaks Spanish with them and watch the reaction. I told her that we had the GED in Spanish over at the Literacy Center over at Miller. She was thrilled and said she would be attending the next class, and she meant it. Juana is a cafeteria worker for Volusia Schools at Pearson Elementary and was told that there would be no pay advancement unless she got her GED. She came the next class and said to me, even if I don't get the diploma, I just want to go back to school. I just want to learn. According to Juana, her 2 daughters are more motivated now to study by seeing La Madre studying and wanting to better her education. I thank you for your help this morning. Muchas gracias a todo el mundo. Dios les bendiga. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lemon. Where was the money coming from to fund this?
This comes through the Federal Migrant Program and Linda Osborne's budget.
That's our federal programs budget. Deborah Buckles is our Director of Federal Programs. Would you like to have her come and speak to you about it?
Yeah, I would.
I'd like to say something while Deborah's coming up. I'm kind of a stickler on We have so much to do with K through 12.
Nice
We
to
really
meet you.
do.
That's all right.
This is adult ed, and while my heart, I go to all your graduation ceremonies, my heart is with yours. But our money needs to go to K through
60% of
12.
our school at Crescent City High School is Hispanic.
Yes.
Right.
And from my perspective, of the decades of being in education, the fundamental issue is language.
I'm gonna refer to you as El Wapo Whitman, the brave, the handsome,
Thank you.
I don't have a lot to add at this point, other than Ms. Osborne is in the process of writing her migrant grant, and the funds have been reduced, as have Title I Part A's, by the way. And so it's just a matter of numbers, economics, and trying to figure out what we can and what we can't do. So at this point, I think she told Dr. Whitman that this was a possibility to prepare for that.
But we don't know for sure.
I don't know for sure at this particular point.
Okay.
And I, of course, if the board directs that that be a priority, I'll go back and share that with her. But something will have to be eliminated somewhere.
Well, and and I know for years we were in the adult education business.
We were.
Who is now? Who takes care of
the college?
The
I
college.
mean, I know that it's at the college,
that's why
but
graduation rates go down. I mean, and really, well, it has a lot to do with, in the past, we were able to have graduation,
No, that's a GED.
we had people to work with.
GED exit option.
We had
Yeah.
recovery, adult ed recovery and stuff that
Right.
we're trying to get back into in a better, larger way. Renee is, but, go ahead.
Well, that was all I had to
Yeah.
say. It's just a matter of right now, we are in the planning and the writing stages of all those budgets, and it just may be something that has to be looked at. So I will certainly go back and express your concerns to Ms. Osborne and see where we are and let you know at a later date.
And those are federal dollars, and when they decide to reduce
Yeah,
them,
there's
the
nothing
only
we can do
option
about
we
it.
then have is to pay for things out of the general fund budget, and you're absolutely right. K-12 has to be our priority. We like to be all things to all people, but until the state and the federal government provide us enough money to do that, it's kind of hard to do. And Profe does a great job, always has. He's very well liked and respected at Crescent City High by the students there, and they come to him for all kinds of things. He's very generous in his time and his efforts for those students and their families. And certainly there's no end to the need in Putnam County, and we want to do everything we can, but everything you do costs money. And I don't know what the answer is, but we write the grants and we do the best we can, and we hope we get what we need to meet everybody's
And
needs.
we've taken a hit in Title
Correlation
X
between-
as well as migrant and EL this year, and Title I preliminary looks like I'm going to be down over $250,000. So,
I couldn't agree more with Ms. Jorgensen that, K-12 is our primary goal, and we need to figure out ways to continue to, get that straight, but maybe a grant or something might come through that you could figure out.
Right, because there has to be a correlation between our kids that are in school and their parents that aren't educated, and they see that, it's affecting our students.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. I would say there. I guess I know the migrant program does a lot for the community, so her money is already being used for the community, whether it's, there's so many outreaches they do that they can correlate. So I just feel like this one, because it's got to show student growth on those families. There's no doubt when a kid's parents can
Crescent City
show
could
their
help.
learning and show an emphasis on education, then those kids are going to perform well, and the parents are going to
Right.
they're going to learn together. I mean, I've
agree
seen,
with you.
I've seen it. So I just feel like if the emphasis is more on this program than maybe on some of the other community outreaches, because her migrant program does a lot for the community, and so that those dollars are already being spent on community. So I just feel that I kind of look at it for the other direction as K-12 with this is going to benefit more than her other community projects.
well, I certainly will take that message back.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
Maybe you should present this to the commission in Crescent City as well. They might have some funds that they could
Yeah,
come off of.
Well, there should be some community grant dollars for something
Yeah,
like that.
right. Yeah.
I know we've had our ups and downs. You know, no good deed goes unpunished, but people are never really happy where we put any of our facilities. So, you know, but you have done a phenomenal job, and I heard so many good things about you from graduation.
Several years ago, when adult ed went to St. John's River State College, of course, we stepped away from doing adult ed. But I feel pretty sure that if you go to St. John's, and we will make some connections in the meantime.
Dr. Melissa Perry.
Right, Dr. Perry. Contact Dr. Perry, because basically they have assumed the responsibility of providing adult education for the county. So, and they already have a classroom down there. I'm pretty sure that if you go talk to them about this need, you're going to find that they will be able to provide that service. They receive workforce dollars, about $500,000 a year, to do that. So there is no reason not to do that.
And in the meantime, is that something we could bridge
Well,
the gap, send an email
we
to
will-
Dr. Perry?
Yeah, we'll make the initial
Thank you.
connections there.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's a great idea.
Appreciate that.
If we have, do we have any further public comments? Okay, now that we don't have any further public comments, we'll move to the consent agenda.
Bathroom break.
And, board, we have the some consent agenda before you, so if you have any, easy for me to say, yeah. If you have any items you'd like to pull, now would be the time to let us know. Ms. Cummings?
I do not.
Ms. Crawford?
I do not.
Ms. Jorgensen?
I do not.
I do not. I'll need a motion to accept the consent agenda as
Make a motion that we pass the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
a motion from Ms. Cummings and a second from Ms. Crawford. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Moving along. Oh, I did have some.
Emergency, a whole packet with.
I knew I had them, because I went through them yesterday, yeah.
Those are hers.
He can use them, but.
Here, I'll give you
Keep up with
Terry's.
his stuff.
Just wait a minute. You don't speak English and you taught it.
Give that to Terry.
I'm
Here.
aggravated, Ms.
Here's
Crawford.
Terry's.
I got it.
I know, you've got Kathy's.
Who's on
my
first?
notes.
Who's on second? Okay.
Gavel. Gavel.
Gavel.
When do we
Gavel
talk
the
about the
emergency
bus
item.
time?
Okay,
gavel
old
the
business.
emergency.
We have no old business. Wait a minute, excuse me. I put us in emergency session. Not part of this agenda. Just give me just a second here, catch up, folks. Okay, capital outlay bond issue amendment, Middleton Burney Elementary School. What is your pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a motion from Ms. Jorgensen.
I'll second that.
Second from Ms. Crawford. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Out-of-state travel, Interlochen High School culinary instructor, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
I make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Stipends to secondary teacher supervising and assisting students in credit recovery, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
Is this past student, or right now in the summer? Who's
Yes.
in the summer?
Helen.
Okay.
Oh, good.
I make a motion that we approve this.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, additional work hours, transportation department, data clerk, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, additional work hours, bus drivers, aides, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair
Aye.
votes aye. Overnight travel, Palaca High School FFA.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Crawford, you're making me laugh here. Okay, overnight travel, Interlochen High School, JROTC.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Letter of agreement, Putnam Community Medical Center outpatient rehabilitation, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. Jorgensen,
Second.
second from Ms. Cummings. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to point out that 6 years ago, we were paying $50, and now we're paying $70. That's a 40% increase in our cost on this item. And boy, we sure don't get any funding increases. So our expenses are constantly going up, constantly, but the income isn't, and most people know what that means. Disaster.
Okay, now do you
One
need
of-
a motion?
Do
We
we
have a
have,
motion and a
we just
second.
have
All
too
right.
many, how many are on staff occupational therapists that we have?
Currently have one.
And every time we advertise, we never get people because the salary's too low?
Well, we adjusted that through the new contract, and we're hoping that the outcome is very good.
I hope so. So
So
then if-
that will change.
That will change that if we, okay. Are those published now, or when are we gonna?
They're about to be, they posted today.
Oh, perfect, great. So
All right.
hopefully that could, all right, thank
We have a
you.
motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Out-of-state travel, QI Roberts Junior Senior High School instructor, justification, explanation, time
So
sensitive.
moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. More emergency items.
No, those are the same ones.
I guess I'll have to,
Those are the same.
That's the same one.
Yeah, it's just a
Okay.
different list.
wow.
Out of emergency.
It says from Indiana.
We're out of emergency session and we're into old business, no old business, new business. No new business.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Discussion, I'm looking at, over here for a presentation, we're gonna have it a little bit. Discussion, input, and approval to request name Mosley Elementary Physical Education Building after former employee, and I guess that would be Bertie Oliver.
Pat Robinson.
Pat Robinson.
Okay. Bertie, I was thinking Bertie's daughter, isn't Pat was Bertie?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So moved?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Discussion, input, and approval of Raptor Virtual Volunteer Software Contract. Contract available prior to meeting.
Now, we haven't seen a contract.
Yeah, I have-
Has our attorney had
Actually,
the
it turned
opportunity?
out, they work with purchase orders. I put that on there because I thought there would be a contract, but,
There's
at
no
the-
contract?
For the presentation, there was a pricing sheet. I guess we could have a contract if that's what the board feels they need.
Well, it's up to our attorney whether
But
he
they
thinks
work
it's
through a
necessary.
purchase order system, which is kind of a contract really with our district, but.
Right.
Rhonda?
I didn't see an invoice with the final.
Yeah, I know, there's no,
The last sheet, and then I did a packet, are you looking at?
There's
your,
one
uh,
page
Oh, the
attached
packet?
on the agenda.
Yeah, it's the last sheet, it's just their pricing.
Okay.
I think it's put to you, but,
I really have heard it before.
I'll say the same thing you said to us.
Yeah, that's about what it
Sheet like this? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't get that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's,
it's on board docs.
It is, okay.
we're good, I think. I mean, if I,
That's why I think we need to be purchasing.
let's just say, all in favor, I need a motion and a second to.
I'll make a motion that we submit a purchase order to Raptor so that we can start to use their services.
I'll second.
If I could just add, if there is a contract that Raptor would be willing to provide as far as the scope of what we are liable for, what they're liable for, if something goes wrong with the system, incorrectly identify someone as a sex offender, who's going to be on the hook for that? There are a lot of other clauses that we need to flesh out.
All right, well,
Okay.
you wanted to,
I withdraw my motion.
Software as a service, it's like any other software you claim. It's a Bluetooth license, I can print that.
Okay, that would definitely help.
Okay, so I'm going to revise my motion and say that pending our attorney's approval of
The
the
contract.
service agreement,
the service agreement.
we go ahead with this software.
All right, I'll need a motion. I got a motion, and I'll need a second.
I'll second again.
Have a second from Ms. Crawford. Any more discussion?
I was just curious about are we definitely doing the background checks also as an addition? I haven't seen, I'm trying to bring up the, invoice right now. So did the invoice have that included?
Well, it's subject to Mr. Douglas ensuring that
Yeah, because I don't know what package we're
Travis,
getting.
yeah, this is just the 1,600 is actually just the machine. This isn't the background check.
It's $29 per background screen.
Sex offender check, the private alert check, the custody checks. What it doesn't include is on the volunteer side, full criminal background checks.
But we don't need that. We just need I've done a lot of research on that.
If you're doing it yourself, you don't need them. It's
Well,
just
I
an
mean,
option.
Yeah, when we went
section-
with your district, you're using another service now for full background checks, and I think you're paying $24 per check.
Plus $28,000.
Plus 28,000 a year, where with our service, it would be $29 per check.
And no 28,000.
And
Yeah.
no 28,000.
So the $28 is just the sexual predator background check, correct?
No.
Or you're doing the background
That's
2,
included.
level 2, level 1?
Well, it's, the background check is for volunteers, and it's a separate fee, it's $29.
Yes.
But for the $480 annual fee, you get all the sex offender checks for as many people as you want.
My next question is, I've been extensively looking at other counties. Their volunteers do not get checked every year. It's every 3rd to 4th year. So are you going to charge us every year to John Doe for a volunteer?
No, that's completely up to your district about how many times you want us to check your volunteers.
Gotcha. Because that's a huge concern for me, because it is a very, very large expense to us, and I've looked at 5 other counties, and I'll talk to, that's a policy question. We'll deal with Mr. Weaver on that, but.
under Jessica Ludford.
No, it's not. I've spent a lot of hours. I mean, we'll talk about it another time. It's not Jessica Lunsford. It's about the volunteers, and you do not have to do it every year.
I understand you don't have to do it, but it's,
I would say it's a liability if you don't.
No, it's not though. I'm telling you, it's something the state FSBA gave me all the information. I'll present it. I've spent hours looking into it. It is not a yearly thing. St. Johns County doesn't do it every year. Flagler doesn't do it every year. Alachua doesn't.
Take a percentage of
Pinellas
sexual
doesn't.
offenders you have in those other counties and look at what we have. But I'm not gonna argue that right now.
I know. We'll talk about it.
From Raptor's standpoint, on the background, the volunteer background checks, you only get charged for actually doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
You
It's
can run them once a year, once every 10 years, it doesn't matter.
so okay. So with your system, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's only that
Your
one time
policy
check.
is what you're describing, that's up to
Yeah,
your decision.
that's just.
But from a charge perspective, only when
We
you
don't
get
charge
someone-
29 per, yeah, so you just do the package. Okay, that's my thing. As long as they can check every day if they want. I'm just saying that,
We don't care, you can send it all day.
but if it's not an additional cost, because it's
Just
so,
for the check.
yeah, absolutely.
But
Okay.
Not for your visitors, not for the sex offender checks, not for the other check, just for volunteers.
Travis,
And
does
if
this
we
meet
did
with your
implement this, we
approval?
wouldn't need the communities
Okay,
and
then I'm
schools.
off.
So that $28,000 savings would actually easily, that additional 5, right now, they've done about 1,000 people this year at $24. That's an additional 5,000 this would cost, but we're saving the 28,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's my
So we're
point.
all agreed we're not gonna fund CIS anymore then?
Correct. It will not be in, that contract will not be renewed.
Not for that
So we
particular
won't be
thing.
giving them any money for all they do in our schools. That's my only thing.
Well, they get grants, I believe. I don't think this was just.
They're written into Mosley's grant. They do get money for other
Oh, good.
things. This
Good,
is
good,
only
good,
for
good.
this particular
Right.
check
Okay,
for
good.
volunteers.
Great.
It's just a
Mr.
cost
Weaver.
savings measure.
I would assume that the superintendent is recommending that we go with this. Do you go with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we have a motion pending the attorney's recommendation after he peruses the purchase order. And we need a second.
Second?
Second from Ms. Cummings. Any discussion
I've already
further?
done it.
I
I
thought we
already
had-
did
I
it.
thought we had two. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. You say we already did the budget amendment.
We did?
We didn't do the budget amendments, okay? All right. I'm still looking, okay, we just did the Raptor software. Budget amendments for April 2016. Any Any discussion, any comments? I'll need a motion in a second.
It's not an action item, Mr. Buck.
It's not an action item. It's just, okay.
Why not? We always approve budget
You always
amendments.
have to approve budget amendments. I don't know why it wasn't.
Ms. Criswell just said.
It's
it's
here
not an
for
action item.
discussion.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you want approval, Ms. Odom?
Is there any,
Ron?
I make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
We have a motion to approve the budget amendment. I'll need a second.
I'll second.
We have a second from Ms. Crawford. Any discussion? Having no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
I do have a quick question maybe for Rhonda. Unreserved fund balance, this is as of April 31st? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We should have worded that.
That's fine then.
Board member reports. I'll start with Ms. Cummings.
Great graduation. Thank you for all the staff and the hard work, and I do appreciate all the graduates working so hard. That's all.
Okay, Ms. Crawford.
Same thing. We enjoyed going to each graduation. The speeches by the students were phenomenal. Some of the best I've ever heard in my many, many years in Putnam County and going to graduations. I also enjoyed a lot of end-of-the-year programs and award ceremonies and promotions to the next grade. It's such a busy time of the year. We have so much to be thankful for and so many people to be proud of. I know a lot of changes have been made in administrative staff. Some people have been moved around, and I hope that everybody is happy with those and that they have a successful year this year.
Thank you. Ms. Jorgensen?
Yeah, I was also going to comment, the end of the year activities were wonderful. So well organized. That's one thing that struck me with all of them was they all went out off without a hitch. It's very, very nice. More computers. Don't we need more computers? Can't we put money for more computers? It's the board's job to assign money. I mean, it's all I hear out west.
Classroom
in the
digital
west.
plan is going to do that. That's with the state
Okay.
for funding for computers, yes. And we will, again, follow what the state tells us to do and see how much money they give us. $250,000 last year. I hope they'll give us more this year.
You know, when we have a workshop with the principals, I think that would be a very
Yes.
good time to hear from them as
Talk to them
well.
about that at
Their
that
needs.
time,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, good. I'm finished. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
And I had thoroughly enjoyed the graduation. Other than Ms. Crawford kicking me in the foot all the time to make me be quiet, so it went very well, and I'll pass it on because of the length of time. Mr. Douglas?
Thank you, Chairman Buckles. As far as the McPherson property goes in South Putnam, if there are any questions about that, we've done extensive legal research on the status of ownership of that property. So please let me know if you have any questions about that. The district is in good stead and standing for the continual building on that property. Additionally, with the Campbell Building sale, right now we have one person or entity who is interested in purchasing the Campbell Building. And we have been through a long process of negotiation, and the person's name is Mr. Weeks. He has an LLC that is making the formal offer. He and his attorney are getting together the contract that as soon as they have everything together and the addendum attached, I will be able to bring it to the board for your review and approval, and or additional counter offers or a negotiation that you would deem required. EDGE continues with its implementation of the corrective action plan, and they are addressing the main concerns, one of them being the mortgage on the College Road property. They've been in constant communication with Marist Bank and with members of the school district, myself, Rhonda, Mr. Hood, and they are making some significant headway with the mortgage and the listing of the property for sale. New Tech is a curriculum that they have been making payments on and are continuing to make payments on, and both Pat Freeman and the principal, Ms. Parsons, are engaged in communication with New Tech so that hopefully the bill can be reduced or somehow staggered, refinanced, restructure the payments. And then another item that they were very interested in at the time of drafting the corrective action plan was to bring on board a member of the EDGE board who has some background in financial accounting. And I sent you a copy of the finalized minutes. I hope you had a chance to review that. I do have the draft minutes from the last EDGE board meeting, and it seems that they are trying to take a very measured and deliberative approach to finding someone who is just the right fit to fill that seat on their board. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Charlie. Mr. Superintendent?
Well, we had a great year, and since the end of April, we've been doing end-of-year programs and awards programs. They were all wonderful. Our graduations were at all of our high schools amazing this year. So great end of the year. Thank you all for your participation. Also at the end of the year, it is the time that we evaluate staff. We know that change is hard. We don't change people around for the fun of it because it's not fun, because we know people don't like it. But that's our job, to evaluate each of our schools and try to determine what the best fit is for the personnel that we have to better serve our students' needs. And again, we have to keep the focus on our students. It's about the students, and I tell our principals pretty much at every meeting, we have to remember what we do in this district is a focus on the students. It's not the convenience of the adults, it's our focus on our students. So although some of these were difficult, they were necessary for us to move forward and make the changes and have the achievement and the improvement that we need for next year. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be working very hard this summer, trying to get everything done in a short summer before we start school next year on August 10th. And just trying to keep up with everything the legislature gives us and get it done. That's it.
Thank you. Did you tell me that Ms. Odom was going to come up and try to address the board under your report or not?
You have something today? I don't think so.
It's a big fat lie.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well,
And that's what that was, and she had David read.
well, as chairman and the power vested in me, I will conclude the meeting.